Sam, what advice do you have for leaders looking to innovate?
I think that the first thing is, as I said before, I think there's a temptation to say, hey, let's take all ideas and go big. And it turns out that that's, my experience has been that is not the way you want to go. Start out small, focused on a simple problem. Not a problem, obviously, you don't want to do a problem where you already know the answer. Nobody likes that. But focusing on a smaller area that you can control, you can manage, because one of the things that's very important is people want to see impact. If I ask for a lot of ideas and then I don't see anything, nothing gets implemented, then most people feel like you just wasted my time. I've seen this, I've heard this story before. Yes, we want to innovate. Sure, we want your ideas, but guess what? We're not doing anything. This is just a show. And that's what really gets people very frustrated, because they take time, they're passionate about their ideas. And if you don't show anything for it and you clearly aren't going to implement it, it doesn't work.
Welcome to the Grow and Learn podcast, your go-to source for expertise and insights on a variety of topics: business growth, leadership, technology, personal and business finance, and more. We've curated a vast network of business experts ready to address your company's most pressing challenges. From corporate growth strategy to leadership, marketing strategy, sales strategy, branding, customer relations, technology, AI, IT security, and beyond, we connect you to the best experts for your needs. Reach out to us for more information or schedule a call at grownlearn.org to explore how we can support you. I'm speaking to one of the most innovative people in the US, Sam Zellner. He's an inspirational innovation manager. He sits on the board of the United States Intellectual Property Alliance, and he also has more than 200 approved patents. This is impressive. Mm-hmm. He has a background in patent management and innovation in telecommunications. Right now, he's running his own innovations company, and I'm very curious to hear. This is a person with plenty of experience. You wouldn't want to miss that. So welcome, Sam.
Thank you. Appreciate this opportunity to speak with you about something I'm very passionate about.
The pleasure is all mine. And I would start straight with what you kind of introduced your perspective to me before we started recording. And it is the involvement of people in a corporation, in a business, in innovation initiatives, and what it brings to the people.
Yeah, let me talk about that, because I think it's a little subtle here. Yes. I guess is the right word for it is. So I think a lot of people think of an innovation program and they think, oh, I'm going to get a great idea, Sam. Maybe you have a great idea. It'll change the company and we'll make billions of dollars. Like I said, not $1 million, but billions of dollars.
Yeah.
And that might be, and that's all good. But there's actually a lot of things you can get out of an innovation program that, even if you don't get the $1 billion idea, you actually get something that may be equally valuable. And that's the engagement of your employees. I think people don't realize that when you're asking people for their ideas, it's obviously a compliment to people, and they feel honored that you would share a problem, because that's obviously a very personal thing in some sense for the company, and you're asking me to provide thoughts on it. And so what we found, we've surveyed employees that have been involved in these type of innovation challenges. And what we found out, they said, Sam, even though I can't participate in all the ideas, some are in areas I just don't know anything about, the fact that I can hear and learn about what the company's doing really makes me feel like I'm part of the company, that I belong, that they're asking me, I'm part of the team. And so that's why I try and tell companies that use our software, Inspire IP, is that, it's not just about getting great ideas. It's about making people feel a part of the team. And that's really important for a company to be successful. Just like any sports team, if people don't feel part of the team, then it's not going to perform to its very best. And that also, it helps people think about, wow, there's something else going on here that I see that maybe I should mention and share that this is not working quite right, but we could do it better. So it has a ripple effect that most people don't think about when they go into this.
Mm-hmm. Sam, before you started Inspire IP, you were an executive director innovations in AT&T, and we have share a similar background in telecommunications. And I recall very well during the time when there were innovation initiatives running in the company that I was working for, that I actually clearly remember the entire program, how it was structured, how people were submitting ideas. I remember the problems, though. Maybe we can talk about some of the challenges that especially large companies, but not only, face when they're trying to get ideas from the people. What have you observed?
No, that's a very good point. So again, everybody assumes that if there's a good idea, say you have a great idea, that everybody's going to say, "Oh, that's a great idea. Yes, of course, that'll be perfect. Everybody will agree to it, and we'll just implement it." That actually doesn't work that way. So let's go back a little bit and understand how do you get a good idea? Well, a lot of times what happens is you see a problem and you're thinking about how to solve the problem. And what you do is you take an assumption that everybody's had and you break it. You decide, well, let's put it in the wireless area. Back, not to date myself, but back in the day, we used to think, your data transmission was slow. So you wouldn't think of a big, doing video over wireless was not even thought of. It was like, we can do barely an email. How could we do? And so everybody just thought that way.
That's true. I can recall the times.
Yeah. So that's where, if you had an idea about, hey, let's put a camera on a phone, people would be thinking, what? Why would you put a camera on a phone? We don't have enough data even to type. We can't, and that's the problem. And that's what's hard about good ideas. They break an assumption that everybody's had. And so that's why people can't get over it. They're like, no, that can't be a good idea. This wouldn't work because we got this assumption in the way. And so that's what people don't realize is that's what a lot of new ideas come up with. And that's why after you take a year or two later, people are like, oh yeah, that's an obvious idea. I thought of that too. Why? Because everybody got rid of that assumption that the wireless network can't send big data. So now doing video or sending pictures seems obvious. Of course that's obvious, but it wasn't at the time. And so that's one of the problems. The other problem is let's be realistic. A lot of times when inventors come up with ideas, they're not completely polished. There's little things that you don't really understand, and they sort of said, hey, we could do this, and they do maybe a little hand waving, and they don't really know how it's done. So that's the other thing that makes it hard when you get good ideas is they're not always polished. And so what I tell people is, and what we used to do is we'd taken ideas, we'd identify one that we thought had a lot of promise, but what you had to do is bring down what we call the risk level to something that's reasonable for the rest of the company to take on, because there may be legal issues, or maybe it's more it appears to be too expensive right now, so would it be cheaper in the future? So that's one of the things that I think people forget is an innovation group shouldn't be thinking about going around the company. And that's one of the things that happens is a lot of people think, hey, we're the innovation group. The rest of the company just doesn't get it. They're slow, they're old, they don't realize it. And it's like, wait a second. The rest of the company has a sales force that you don't have. They have a distribution channels. They have all these things that a big, company needs. So if you're in the innovation group, you shouldn't be thinking about getting around the company, because what you should be doing is thinking about, okay, how do I take an idea and bring its risk level and its understanding down to a level that the company's comfortable with? And it sounds simple, but sometimes it can be tricky, trying to understand, this is a new concept. Would customers be comfortable with it? Well, we got to do market research and show that customers could adapt to this. Or like I said, the cost might be too much. Or the legal department might say, yeah, we've never done anything like that. We'd have to research. So that's where innovation is a little more complicated than people think. And I always tell people, innovation's messy, and you got to understand that when you go into it.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because the examples you're giving are from a separate entity that you were running that was dealing with innovation, while my experience was where innovation was done within the organization. And in this case, I remember there was a gathering of ideas, like a pool of, they would be put in an Excel sheet or whatever, and then ranked. And then eventually somebody, let's say from the marketing department or technology department, depending on where the idea was relevant, they would give them a score, rank them, and decide whether to proceed or not. But the question here is, back to your first point of their pre-existing notions that, with the example that you gave, with whether you should put video on a phone back in the day. So with these pre-existing notions that exist also within an organization, how do you make sure that the right ideas are selected that have potential? Am I clear with my question?
Yeah. You're definitely very clear, and that's a very good point. So you have to engage the people that are in that area. But like I said, the tricky thing is you got to work on the assumption, again, they're thinking the world is flat. You've told them it's round. Well, that's pretty hard to take. So you need to do things to help them get there, to make them feel comfortable. So if you're saying video on a cell phone, they're going to say, well, wait, the data speeds on our wireless network is this. And then you're going to say, no, but we're going to 5G. 5G is going to have data speeds like this. So it is going to be reasonable. And let's look at what it would be like on a 5G network sending video. So you got to get them there. You can't just assume that they can make the leap like you can, because they're right in the business. They're thinking day to day. So that's the thing that I think people miss is you need to bridge the gap. For me, I'm very comfortable with innovation. I'm comfortable with change. Most people are not comfortable with change. So you need to make it easy. You got to get them into the pool of water and get them to the deep end. You can't just throw them in the deep end and expect them to swim. They're not, and they don't want to do that. So that's the tricky thing that people miss. They automatically assume, oh, you understand it, and you can't do that. So that's one of the tricky things that I think most people miss within innovation. And what I would tell people, the other thing that's a little sort of paradoxical, everybody wants to do this. They want to say, hey, let's get everybody, just give me your ideas. Anybody who has an idea, give it to me. Anything, just give it to me. And I tell people, no, that is not the way you want to do it. Because the problem is taking an idea and really doing it right takes time. It takes skill set. You need people who are familiar with the area. When I was doing it, we started off that way. And I got, somebody said, oh, we should put truck flaps on the trucks to make them more fuel efficient. I'm like, AT&T trucks, who do I go to talk about trucks and AT&T? I didn't know that. It was very hard to get the right expert, to get the right people together. So I say, don't start that way. It's too hard. There's every idea is going to be different. You're going to be looking around your little group. If you have a team of people, they just don't have time. So instead, what seems strange is I tell people start out in a focused area. And what I like to do is start off in a challenge and work with the executive in a specific area. So if you have an executive that's focused on some product and they say, hey, I want to make this product better, that's much easier because now this executive has resources. He or she will have the right people to analyze it, to evaluate it and all that. It's controlled. And the other thing is very important is if you're running an innovation program is you got to have successes. You got to show that you can get things implemented. And what I tell people is when you do something where you're just saying, I'll take any ideas, then you got two jobs that are very hard. One, you got to select what are good ideas. So you somehow have to know what's a good idea. And that's very hard because the world is complicated. And then when you select a good idea, say it's in your department, I got to bring that idea to you and say, hey, here's a good idea. You should implement that. And I got to sell it to you. And you're like, who are you? I don't know who you are, Sam. Why do you think you know more? You know my job better. It's very hard. And that's what I found in the beginning when I was doing this was I was having trouble selecting ideas. I was trying to sell them. It was very hard. Instead, if I partner up with you and you're an executive on a product and you say, Sam, I need new features. And by the way, I need new features that do this in this area. Like it's got to be big enough so that people can innovate. But say you say, I want new features for this product and I'm trying to sell into the US market, say. Okay, so people can come up with ideas. I can show you those ideas. You and your team can say, okay, I like this idea. This makes sense, but it needs to be fixed a little bit. Then I know you have the power to implement it. So if you say, I like it, we're going to develop it, we're going to implement it, that's a success. Now everybody looks and says, wow, Sam did a challenge. They picked an idea from this person and the business unit implemented it. Wow, that's a success. And I didn't have to push it on you. You picked it. You made it happen. It's much easier. Now, I might have to give you resources. Keep in mind, one of the things that's tricky when you're doing innovation is if it's in the middle of the year, you might not have budget in the middle of the year. You got a lot of other projects. You might not have resources, people. You're like, no, everybody's busy. I don't have people sitting around waiting for things to do. So that's one of the things we got, when you think about setting up an innovation program, you got to recognize you're going to need some sort of budget. You're going to need some sort of resources because if you're working with other people, they don't have budget in the middle of the year. They don't have resources sitting around. So it's a little tricky that way. And these are the little things that, in terms of my software platform, we provide a software platform to capture ideas and help them. But then also, as you can see, I'm passionate about this. I give people, I'll call it consulting help to be successful. I want them to be successful with my platform. And so that's why, I provide these insights to do it the right way.
Yeah, let's talk about your platform and what it does now, because on your website, which is what is your website again?
InspireIP.com.
InspireIP.com. I read your story, like a short story of how you actually gave birth to Inspire IP, and it was after seeing some of the misalignment in innovation that you had seen in your corporate career previously.
That's right.
So can you walk us through the story? What exactly are the things that you mentioned already, some of the aspects that didn't work and that you're now addressing, but what else are you addressing with Inspire IP?
So, again, what I found was I did both the intellectual property side. One of the things we got to keep in mind when we talk innovation, some people are doing innovation to do for patent filings. And some people are just saying, I want to do innovation or ideas, as we call them, to make the company more efficient, to make the company more money, things like that. And so, there's nothing wrong with an idea that says, hey, our competitor is doing this. We should be doing this. That's great. You're not going to patent that because it's obviously known, but that's important too. So when we talk about innovation, you can be doing innovation because you want to protect things, or you're going to be doing innovation to get good ideas. And my experience was, again, I worked on the patent portfolio and building out the patent portfolio for a number of years with a team. And then I worked on getting ideas for the company to make them better. And in both those circumstances, I realized a couple of things. Well, one thing was that a lot of people say, hey, let's have what's termed the wisdom of the crowd. Let's get everybody to look at everybody's ideas and vote. We actually had a marketplace. It was interesting. We had a marketplace. You had fictitious money and you could invest in ideas. And if those ideas went up, it was supposed to be like a stock market, you made money. And again, I was game for that. That seemed on the surface, seemed like it made sense. But in the end, we realized it didn't make sense. And you might say, well, why not? Because as I told you, remember, new ideas break assumptions. And so when you talk about the group, the general employee base, everybody has the assumption that the world is flat. Can you imagine if I come up and I say, hey, guess what? The world's round. What does everybody think? Everybody thinks, dumb idea. The world's flat. Everybody knows it's flat. Sam, you'd fall off the world if, that's a dumb idea. So we found out that it was very hard for people to come up with new ideas because the crowd was very tough. When you broke one of those assumptions, they were very hard on it. So these are the things I learned from this experience and, why we designed our software so that it actually doesn't share ideas across. Each person puts in their idea and then the group, the innovation group, can review them and evaluate them. Now, one of the things we did learn also was that it's very important to give feedback to people. I need to know if I give you an idea, and we got to recognize that it takes some time to evaluate an idea. I need to know what's going on. You need to keep me informed of what's going on. Otherwise, I'm going to call you. And so we learned that.
Are there any incentives for the people? Because I'll tell you why I'm asking this.
Sure.
From my experience, there were some sort of incentives for teams to give who give suggestions for the winning idea. But I also know of examples where people did not submit their ideas because they were just too good. And they said, I'll take it outside of the company and I'll start my own company with this idea.
That's a
Once they
classic.
got them.
That's a classic. That's a classic. And I heard it all the time. I heard it all the time. And what I told people is this. I said, you can, of course, well, you can't always take your idea out. Obviously, if you use the company's resources, blah, 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 the company, quote unquote, owns the idea. But I told people this. I said, something, if you're a smart person, which most of the people are, and you come up with one good idea, you'll come up with more good ideas. So learn from is this your first good idea? Learn from that experience. Learn what the company does and all that, and how it treats the idea and how it takes the idea. And then if you'll come up with another good idea, then you start your own company. But be careful. Starting your own company and doing all this stuff with an idea takes a lot of effort, takes a lot of risk, takes a lot of time. And let's face it, not all good ideas work. It's very tricky. So I just caution people to say, if you do a good idea, the company will compensate you, maybe not billions of dollars, but you'll get compensated and you'll learn from that. And if you will have another good idea, then on the next one, you can decide whether you want to take it outside the company. So that's what I tell people, because that comes up all the time. They'd say, Sam, my idea is so good. I could set up my own business and make billions. I said, yeah, you could. Go do it if you want to. But guess what? It's really hard. Statistics on the number of new companies that succeed, very low. So
but this still might prevent people from sharing the idea. They might not start their company, but they say, why would I share it with my employer if I'm not getting any reward or
I think you get, first of all, most companies give you some compensation for the patent filing, and obviously people recognize that you were the one who came up with the idea or you're involved in the idea. So so I think there's a lot of this whole fear of I'm not going to get compensated. You get compensated. Again, you're not taking the risk. Keep in mind, you're not putting in all the money and all that. So there is a change, a difference, a trade-off. You get to go home at night and you're not putting your house up for sale on this idea. So there is a big difference there. So, they would say compensation might be a little different that way. So
let's go back to Inspire IP. What else do you do? So you gather the ideas.
We gather ideas. Yeah. We have a whole process to flow the ideas, whether it's going to be for patent filing. So we have a whole process in which you can put an idea easily. You can collaborate with other people to put your idea in. We always encourage you to work with others because it helps make your idea better. Statistically, they've shown that people, when they work together in smaller groups, not too big a groups, but smaller groups, they get better ideas. And so you can work with people, put your idea in. The company can easily manage that to either patent filing, interact with the patent attorney to get it filed, or if it's an idea to improve the company, they can get the right resources to analyze it. Because again, usually there's some additional analysis that needs to be done. They can do, the innovation team can get that analysis done and then present it to the review board, the business unit, whoever, to get it approved, to get it towards implementation. So, we basically have a very efficient process to both capture ideas, keep the inventors informed, allow the team to evaluate it effectively, route it to the right resource, whether it's a patent attorney or whether it's an implementation team to get it done. So that's what it sounds simple, but getting it done right and effectively makes a big difference in terms of whether your innovation program is going to be successful. And again, what we do, which is a little different from some in terms of particularly on the patent side, is we encourage challenges. These innovation challenges to be integrated in, because that's what gets people excited. A lot of people sort of forget that engineers are about solving problems, not about creating problems and then solving them, about solving problems. So if you want to get more people engaged, put out a problem. Don't just wait for somebody to give you an idea.
You mentioned you have an AI component that analyzes speech patterns in the ideas. How do you use AI in this process?
Well, we have two things with AI. So one, we have the brainstorming tool to help you come up with an idea or refine your idea. So that's one thing we have. We also have AI and an initiative I have on the side here, open prior art AI search engine. So one of the things that's hard for inventors and even the team is this idea novel or not? If I'm trying to protect it from a patent standpoint, you need to know if it's novel. And so we have an AI tool that's very efficient at pulling information to see, have there been other people who've come up with this idea, and in what way have they come up with the idea? Because you might be able to come up with an idea, but you have a different twist on it, so you can protect that unique element. So we have that both those tools incorporated into the platform, so you can use them. Now, some people are nervous about using AI with good reason, probably. So, we can turn them on and off. The PQAI is an open source prior art search engine that we control ourselves. So there's no worry about training, leakage and all that. We have it completely controlled. The other engine is oriented off of a private version of ChatGPT. Again, according to ChatGPT, they don't do any training with their tool or anything like that. So in theory, it should be safe, but I can understand where people are nervous. And so, like I said, we can turn it on and off depending on the customer's comfort level.
So once either the IP is submitted or the idea is approved, what happens in terms of implementation? Do you participate in this somehow in terms of consulting?
Well, again, I'm here to help people. And so, as we've been describing here, I'll be, work with our clients to help them do it right. We take it up to, I'll call it, into the implementation area in terms of taking the idea, helping to get it analyzed, and moving it on to the implementation team. We're not trying to be a complete project management system, but we have a flow to keep and manage it. So in terms of the innovation team or as a business unit, you can see where your portfolio is and where the things are in what we call the pipeline or the innovation funnel. You can see, okay, here's new ideas coming in, here's ideas being analyzed, here's ideas being researched, or in the case of patents, here are ideas being drafted, and here's ideas that have been filed for patent protection or ideas that have been implemented by the business unit. So you can keep track, because that's the important thing when you're reading out to executives. They want to know what's going on with the innovation program. Where are the ideas? Are we getting lots of ideas? Who's contributing to those ideas? What ideas are they? What focus, what technologies are involved? So we give you different ways in which to analyze and report on them, because that's important in terms of any program.
I'm excited to introduce a groundbreaking service we're offering in collaboration with our partners, GrowNLearn. This service is designed to help you identify bottlenecks and uncover low-hanging fruits for innovation within your organization. GrowNLearn performs a comprehensive assessment through a digital questionnaire that we distribute to your employees. The result is a detailed dashboard that highlights key innovation indicators and areas where improvement is needed. Armed with these insights, we from GrowNLearn will connect you to the ideal consultant, trainer, coach, or speaker from our global network of top-tier experts to address any gaps and drive growth. Don't forget to check out the links in the description for special offers from our partners, including a free LinkedIn profile assessment. Now enjoy the next segment of this GrowNLearn podcast episode. You mentioned a lot that it comes to patent filing. Are there ideas that revolve around business model innovation, ideas on change of business model that cannot be patented, that still are worth?
Yeah, I mean, there's always, first of all, there's trade secrets. So these are things that you wouldn't want to patent because, the classic example is the formula of Coca-Cola, right? Nobody's going to know what the formula of Coca-Cola is. If you file a patent on it, then everybody would know it because they could read it, and it'd be very hard to, protect it. So that could be, your classic trade secret. I think a lot of companies are not taking advantage of the trade secret. That's an important piece here. Our software allows you to tag things for trade secret and go through a process to make sure you've protected it as treated it as a trade secret. So that's an important piece that you bring up. And there is a lot of discussion. I know you're in Europe. There's a lot of discussion within Europe, the sensitivity that a non-compete clause aren't allowed, as far as I understand, or you need to pay somebody if you're going to say, I don't want you to get involved in this area. I understand that you need to pay that person, for as long as you want them not to compete in your area. So that's where trade secrets become an important piece. And in the US, now, I know in California, they're challenging this whole idea of non-compete clauses. So again, trade secrets become very important.
I didn't understand. You mean in Europe, there are non-compete clauses in Europe? Especially with the employees, there are non-compete.
Right. But what I understand is in Europe, if I have a non-compete clause for you, you leave the company and I say, I don't want you competing against us. I need to pay you salary.
No.
As long as I want to keep that. That's what I was understood. I understood.
Maybe they changed it, but
I don't know. I'm not an attorney, and I'm definitely not an expert on European law. So
not that I know. No.
But that's what I was told by
maybe
one
they've
company.
Changed it in the meantime.
And maybe it differs for each country within Europe. That's
could be.
Even though I know you guys are all one country now.
Theoretically.
Theoretically, yes. So, but the point is there is an important aspect of trade secrets. Because again, like you point out, not everything can be patented and protected. Not everything you should patent and protect. And so therefore, you want to be able to do other things to protect these ideas and make sure that people understand they're important.
I'm not quite sure what the development is in terms of innovation. Maybe there is such a platform, but years ago, there was a talk of the creation of an innovations platform that lists different stages of research and towards a patent for certain biotechnology solutions or drugs. So where companies would share a certain level of innovation on platforms, and then other companies can buy this level of research and upgrade. Is there such a thing that you're seeing?
I know a lot of people have tried, if I understand it correctly, they talk about licensing technology. So technology licensing. So I have, a method that I've patented and you'd like to use that method and maybe then, build on that method. In some cases you can license it from me. Licensing it's a tough business. It depends on what area you're in. Obviously, if you think of wireless, you have the wireless standards. There's standard essential patents obviously are very much in favor these days, or in the news a lot. So a lot of times if you're doing something in 5G, you might need to take a license to the wireless standard there. Wi-Fi is another 802.11, another case of you'd have to take a license there. So yeah, in some cases you can take licenses to patents. I tell people though, it's hard to do licensing of patents because people see that a lot of times as a tax. They don't get anything. They just like, okay, you're like, I know your technique and now you're going to charge me for it. Seems like a tax. But that's what patenting is about, is about recognizing people's intellectual property and compensating them for it, which makes sense because obviously you had to do research and development time to develop that technique, that capability, and to have somebody else copy it, that doesn't make for an environment that encourages innovation. Because if everybody can copy just what I did and all my effort, then I can't make a business out of it because I have costs. So it's a tricky thing. Now the other side to that is, what is a fair price for that? And that's a hard question to answer.
Do you see more development in the future towards open platforms, open innovation in some sort, where people can share their investment? Because with the current developments, the 80% that you were quoting at the beginning from the McKinsey study, that 80% of companies state they need innovation, but only, I don't know what percentage, 3% innovate or invest in innovation. So yeah.
I think in that case, it was more of just about the frustration that most people think their innovation programs aren't working. And that is, again, I go back to, that's my motivation to start Inspire IP, is because innovation is a little harder than people think. That a good idea doesn't just blossom and go by itself. They don't realize that people don't automatically share their ideas for various reasons, as you point out. And so, it's a little more complicated. And I think that those statistics are not surprising to me. That's why so many companies have trouble innovating. And I'm just trying to make it a little easier by providing some software and so that people can get off to the right start, get in the right structure, and I can help people get off and do it the right way, so that they can be part of that 6%, that have a good innovation program.
Yeah. Do you see recently tightening of the of budgets for innovation?
I think there's always, I think the thing that's hard about innovation is people don't know, what am I going to get? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Tell me what I'm going to get. Well, I don't know. It's new. It's innovative.
Mm-hmm.
So it is that is a tough, part to this. But I think there's some techniques that I tell people, on how to do it to get resources so it doesn't cost as much as they think to get an innovation program going. And by partnering up with the business units and things, again, you can do a lot there with very, very little in terms of budget and resources. So that's what I also like to encourage people, that innovation does not have to be a big investment right off at all to be successful.
Do you see a change in the way innovation is done in the future? And what I mean by this is the fact of registering patents, the whole business of licensing. Do you see something more open source?
I think open source will play a role. I mean, again, I'm doing open source for my AI prior art search engine. I think there are areas where it doesn't make sense for people to compete, that everybody has, value. We are doing some of that in the wireless area too, when I was on the wireless side. So I think people are not taking advantage of open source software in certain areas as much as they could. And I think we should be doing more there. And I think IP is ironic that we don't have that much open source software, maybe because of our background there. But I think it could be more. I think, as everybody's been saying, AI is going to change the world and how we do things. Like I said, you can use it as an assistant to help you innovate, and people should use it there. I think people are underestimating how much AI can do for us. And it's like anything. Maybe this is a wrong analogy. I think of it like the microwave oven. When we first got the microwave oven, people are like, yeah, I can heat up my coffee. Oh, I can cook food in it? I didn't really think about that. And so, it evolves. I think the same way is going to happen with AI. We're heating up our coffee right now, but boy, we're going to do a lot more with AI very quickly here.
Well, there are a lot of things to consider with everything new, and also
Yeah,
long-term repercussions that we are unaware of yet. But,
yeah.
I'm
We'll
not
find
saying
out
that
that
we shouldn't dare.
we'll find out that some plates melt when you put them in the microwave. Yeah, I'm going to do the same thing with AI. I was like, oh, I didn't realize AI gave us wrong answers. Yes, hallucinations do happen with AI. It's quite funny. I was doing a little thing where I was using AI to draw a picture, and it created a person with a beard on it, and I didn't want a beard, so I said, take off the beard. And AI changed other things about the picture, and it said, here's a man without a beard. But he clearly had a beard. And so it was sort of interesting. A simple little concept like a beard, and this AI tool didn't understand it. So it just shows you how, as much as AI is very smart, there's some basic things it just doesn't get. So, uh, you know, like everybody says, be careful with AI. Make sure you're using it in areas where you understand the information, the technology enough so you can see what's true and what's not.
Sam,
So
what advice do you have for leaders looking to innovate?
I think that the first thing is, as I said before, I think there's a temptation to say, hey, let's take all ideas and go big. And it turns out that that's, my experience has been that is not the way you want to go. Start out small, focused on a simple problem. Not a problem, obviously, you don't want to do a problem where you already know the answer. Nobody likes that. But focusing on a smaller area that you can control, you can manage, because one of the things that's very important is people want to see impact. If I ask for a lot of ideas and then I don't see anything, nothing gets implemented, then most people feel like you just wasted my time. I've seen this, I've heard this story before. Yes, we want to innovate. Sure, we want your ideas, but guess what? We're not doing anything. This is just a show. And that's what really gets people very frustrated, because they take time, they're passionate about their ideas. And if you don't show anything for it and you clearly aren't going to implement it, it doesn't work. And one of the other things is, careful, I've seen this. Oh, as a group will say, hey, we want ideas on this product to improve this product. It turns out they didn't have control of that product. So they got ideas, they liked this idea. Then they had to go to the group that actually controlled the product and say, hey, why don't you implement that? This is a great idea. And they're like, no, That's not going to work. So now everybody's like, what do you mean? You picked my idea, but you couldn't implement it? You're wasting my time.
Mhm.
So, and I also tell the other thing, now this is not so much for the executives, but for the inventors and people like that. There's a case where people had brought in some ideas. One idea got selected. They wanted the idea, I'll call it in blue. I talked to the customer that liked the idea. They said, no, it should be red. So I went back to the innovation group and I said, hey, they liked your idea, but they want it in red, not blue. And they're like, oh no, no, it's got to be blue. I said, well, here's the deal. If it's blue, they won't implement it. If it's red, they'll implement it. If they implement it in red and then later say, oh, it should have been blue, I'll let you tell them I told you so. But otherwise, so there has to be compromise there. And that's why I tell inventors, you got to be, I know you're passionate about your idea, but you got to have a little compromise because things happen, things are needed. It's a complex world. Be flexible. I know it's hard because you think you have the right answer, but be flexible. And for executives, like I said, don't start out big, start out small, start out an area you can control so you can show successes and build out. It's sort of like learning to swim. You don't go in the deep end of the pool and jump in and hope you can learn how to swim. Start in the shallow end, get yourself experienced, and then go out into deep water. You'll have lots of time to expand your innovation program out to more and more ideas.
Yeah. Talking about starting small, on inspireip.com, your company, you also have starter offers that people can
We
check
do.
out.
We actually, because this is a new thing, we offer for people who just want to get ideas and do a challenge. We offer a free trial. So if you come, we'll let you sign up for a free trial. We'll help you get through that free trial so you can appreciate it. And I'll be honest with you, it's no surprise. I know if you do a successful trial, you'll want to do more. Your people will be excited about it and they'll go forward and you'll be a customer of ours. So it's that simple. Not trying to be subtle about this. We know that it's like you said before, what am I going to get for innovation? It's hard to know. Let's show you through an example how it works. And we're very confident you'll be pleased.
Fantastic. Sam
Yeah.
Zellner, I had the
Yeah.
real pleasure. Yes, please. Anything you would
I
like
was just
to
going to
add?
say for people, you can find me on LinkedIn at Sam-Zellner-IP, or just Sam Zellner. And if you have questions and things like that, you want to learn more, you can message me there. I'd be happy to answer it. I also post a lot, and you can see some of the things I'm talking about in terms of innovation. Thank you for this opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Thank you too. It was my pleasure. I enjoyed it. I learned a lot, and I'm going to connect you now.